Hello dear students, welcome to Prerna. This class is on the topic, why did the Renaissance begin in Italy? Okay, in history it is very important that you know the how and why of things. So yesterday itself I had given the point that Renaissance had begun in Italy. Okay, or I can say that Italy was the cradle of Renaissance. So why did it happen? How did it happen? What were the factors which made Italy the cradle of Renaissance? So we have to analyze that. Okay. So let me take the reasons for you. Okay. What were the major factors which made Italy the birthplace of Renaissance? So you have to know that you studied last year when you were in second year that Italy, you studied about the glory of ancient Rome, and you have to know that Italy was the center of ancient Roman culture. And in those days, how there were very powerful city-states in Italy, which were active centers of political life. So this could be that that was there very much in the culture of Italy. A country that was very rich in its heritage and culture definitely had those elements in it even after many centuries. So it is easier for Italy than many other countries. For example, if you take the case of England, Spain, Portugal, or any other country, it was easier or much more, the situation was much more better in Italy because of the city-state culture which they had earlier during the ancient period. Now, you also know that Italy was the center of the Catholic Church, and the Rome controlled affairs there, but that resulted in the struggle between the Pope and the emperors. So, which promoted, in fact, the growth of city-states in the medieval period too, in the pattern of the old types. Okay, and these city-states, you can see, became oligarchic republics. Now, what do you mean by oligarchic republics? Republic, you know the meaning. Oligarchy is where the control was not in the hands of a single person but a group of powerful people, nobles. Okay, oligarchic republics, and they controlled affairs. So they, we could see that many of the Italian places became centers of active political life. Okay, next slide. These republics were controlled by nobles and also rich businessmen. After the decline of feudalism, trade had flourished, and which resulted in certain people becoming very powerful business magnates. So these business class, since they had the money power, they were in a position to make a lot of bargaining everywhere. So that could be seen, and these businessmen were people who invested a lot in commercial activities, as a result of which banking flourished. So you could see a number of centers here. Florence, Milan, Urbino, Bologna, Rome, Naples, Turin, Genoa, all these Italian cities were flourishing commercial centers in the 14th century. And you have to compare this with the rest of Europe. The other European countries did not have this fortune to have such developed, flourishing trade centers. So trade made Italy very wealthy compared to the other European countries. അടുത്ത സ്ലൈഡിലേക്ക് നമുക്ക് നോക്കാം. ഈ ഒരു ട്രേഡ് കാരണം തന്നെ people traveled a lot to other parts. Exposure was there. It was not like the feudal pattern where it was an enclosed system. Not at all like that. You could see here, because of trade, because of such activities, outgoing activities, in fact, people became very open-minded. Society became very liberal. Liberal in the sense, society was ready to accept new ideas. They were like ready for debates, ready to accept what they found was better, not like clinging on to the ancient traditions or beliefs or superstitions. So that liberal minded nature was also seen in the Italian society. This particular nature of the society and people encouraged the spirit of inquiry. Now, what is the meaning of the spirit of inquiry? ഒരു സംശയമുള്ള ആളെ സംശയം ചോദിക്കാൻ അനുവദിക്കുക, മറ്റുള്ളവർ ആ സംശയത്തിന് ഉത്തരം കണ്ടെത്താൻ പ്രേരിപ്പിക്കുക, അതിനെ സപ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്യുക. അപ്പോൾ അങ്ങനത്തെ ഒരു നേച്ചർ സാധാരണ എന്താ ഉണ്ടാവുക? യു ക്യാൻ സീ ഇൻ മോസ്റ്റ് ഓഫ് ദ സൊസൈറ്റീസ് വിച്ച് ആർ വാട്ട് ടു സേ archaic in nature or which are traditional nature, they would suppress questions. So the spirit of skepticism wouldn't be seen. But here, very much that spirit of skepticism, the idea of reasoning, all could be seen to a large extent. And now here I have to bring the name of a very important statesman, that is Cosimo de' Medici. He was a very prominent person of Italy in those days, in the 14th century. He founded the Platonic Academy, where the philosophy of Plato was taught, and this encouraged a lot of scholars like Mirandola to study vernacular languages, to propagate the ideas in local languages, etc., which became a very important feature of the Renaissance period. How vernacular literature flourished, vernacular languages had developed during the period. Okay, now let me also tell you that these very rich nobles, they gave asylum to the scholars who escaped the wrath of Ottoman persecution after the fall of Constantinople in 1453. Many scholars from other parts, Byzantine, they came to Italy, settled in Italy. They were given shelter and asylum in Italy by all these nobles and rich people, and that kind of acceptance, you can see, gave a surge to classical scholarship. Classical scholarship എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ മിസ് ഇന്നലെ പറഞ്ഞു, it's a situation where a lot of revival could be seen in the case of Greek and Roman learning. So these scholars who were given asylum brought in a lot of manuscripts. So they worked in Italy, they circulated it a lot more, which led to the how we could see the knowledge could be spread much more at much more faster pace due to the circulation done by these scholars. Now I have to introduce you to this person. If you write about the Renaissance of Italy, if you study about the Renaissance of Italy, definitely the name of this person is important. He was Lorenzo de' Medici, the grandson of Cosimo de' Medici, about whom we had mentioned now. So the period 1449-1492. Okay, now for this person, why do we discuss him here? He was a very important, a prominent statesman, de facto ruler of Florence at that time. He was a very powerful patron of Renaissance and our culture. He lavishly patronized scholars, and that that gave Florence its golden age. He patronized, Michelangelo, another important person, Botticelli, and since he was such a such a patron, such a learned person, he had himself intelligence and wisdom to a large extent. He also had this title, the Magnificent. So Lorenzo de' Medici, the Magnificent. Magnificent എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ ഗാംഭീര്യമുള്ള എന്നുള്ള മീനിങ് ആണ് വരുന്നത്. Okay, I have this image. This is Lorenzo de' Medici for you. ഓക്കെ, ഇനി വേറൊരു കാര്യം പറയാൻ ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്നതെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ, യു കുഡ് സീ ഹൗ ദീസ് നോബിൾസ് ഹു ഹാഡ് ദെയർ ഓൺ ബിസിനസ് ഹൗസസ് were in competition with each other. Rivalry was there. So in order to outsmart the other business group, they tried to support more scholars, to have their huge palatial bungalows with decorated with large paintings. So they wanted the support of, they wanted sculptors and architects to do that for them. So we could see that these people, the nobles, they supported these scholars to a large extent because they wanted to flaunt their wealth. ഇങ്ങനെ കാണിക്കണം, ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇത്ര ഞാനാണോ ബെറ്റർ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നീയാണോ ബെറ്റർ. സോ ദ റൈവൽറി ബിറ്റ്വീൻ ദ ബിസിനസ് ക്ലാസ്സസ്, ബിസിനസ് ഹൗസസ് റിസൾട്ടഡ് ഇൻ ദ ഗ്രോത്ത്. അപ്പോൾ ആരാണ് ഏറ്റവും വലിയ സ്കോളറിനെ സപ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നത്, കൂടുതൽ പൈസ ആരാണ് കൊടുക്കുന്നത്, അയാൾ ആരുടെ കൂടെയാണ്, ഹൂസ് എ പേട്രൺ ഓഫ് മൈക്കൽ ആഞ്ചലോ. അപ്പോൾ അങ്ങനത്തെ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് വരുമ്പം ദെയർ വാസ് ദിസ് റൈവൽറി കോമ്പറ്റീഷൻ വിച്ച് വാസ് ഗുഡ് ടു എ സർട്ടൻ എക്സ്റ്റെൻറ്റ്, വിച്ച് ഇൻ ഫാക്ട് led to the florescence of learning, culture and architecture in Italy. Okay, now you also have to know that Italy was fortunate to have scholars like Dante, Petrarch, Boccaccio there in Italy itself. These people who with their writings triggered the spirit of Renaissance, triggered the spirit of reasoning and logical inquiry, criticism, etc. Okay, so these you can say I have given you now, compiled for you the points which from which you can understand what were the reasons which made Italy the cradle of Renaissance. അപ്പോൾ അത് കൃത്യമായിട്ട് നോക്കുക. ഇത്രയും പോയിന്റ്സ് ചെറിയൊരു വീഡിയോ ആണ്, but then I have tried to give all the points. So I'll be back soon. Bye bye, take care, thank you.